In this video, we're going to cover cooking chicken on a grill, and I'm going to tell you the story of the time I almost killed a guy. And away we go. Hey guys, it's Josh with No Dad, No Problem, featuring how-tos, interviews, and reviews you can use. So summertime is quickly approaching. It is the weekend of Memorial Day. I'm sparking up my grill, cooking some chicken. I'm very excited. I figured I'd show you guys how to cook chicken on a grill to make sure that it doesn't get overly dried out. Because even though chicken, it's very important that it is cooked thoroughly to avoid food poisoning concerns. You still want it to be juicy, you still want it to be good, and with the method that I use, it usually turns out that way. Hopefully it will for this video. Now, I said in the lead-in that I tell you guys the story about the time that I almost killed a guy, and I definitely will. I don't talk about it a whole lot, especially on this channel, but I actually did a little bit over 20 years in the United States military. I was in the U.S. Air Force. I retired at the rank of a Master Sergeant, and because of that, Memorial Day is a special holiday to me. I lost friends, to be honest with you. Good young men and women who were taken well before their time. And so I always make it a point on Memorial Day to think of them and conduct myself in a manner that will bring honor to their memories. But on to the time that I nearly killed a guy. Well, let's get to the cooking first. All right, so I am a charcoal griller. I am not a propane guy. Think of that what you will. So I've got my charcoal up in a pyramid, and now I am going to just spark that. This was a matchlight type charcoal, so I didn't have to use any lighter fluid on it, just a store brand, but it works very, very well. So I'm going to wait for those flames to die down and for the coals to get hot. So back in 2010, I took my first trip to Afghanistan, and I was forward deployed to this small forward operating base in a city in southwest Afghanistan called Lashkar-Gah. And in Lashkar-Gah, it was a pretty hot zone, but the base I was on was actually a British military base, primarily. In fact, I was the only United States airman that was part of the task force that was down there. So one of the things that happened was that they had the requirement that all service members would pull guard duty, which is not something that I was used to. I was more of a paper pusher. I was an analyst. I was not a typical combat troop, but duty calls, we got to do our duty. So I get trained up on the British GPMG, General Purpose Machine Gun, which is pretty much the equivalent of the United States 240 Bravo. And I get put onto the guard tower shift, onto the rotation for that. So on my first night on shift, I get in my gear. I've got my flak vest. I've got my M4 rifle. I'm kitted up. I go up, I climb up into the guard tower, and I get my changeover briefing. It was quiet at the time, not a whole lot of going on. It's about 2 in the morning when my shift started. So I have this little night vision monocle, so it's just a one eyepiece, and I'd scan across my sector, make sure I didn't see anything. If I did see anything, well, we had escalation of force if something did occur, and I'll go into that after we get past the next step in the cooking. All right, the chicken is all ready to go. What this is just chicken breast with a smokehouse barbecue dry rub that was applied very generously. And then I let it, the dry rub just sit on there overnight. You can season however you want. You can marinate, you can get dry rubs like I did, salt and pepper, whatever works to your taste. There's still a little bit of flame, but not too much. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna spread my coals out, and then I'm gonna apply the grill top back on to let that heat before I apply any meat. Ugh. Grab my grill top, throw that bad boy on, and I'm gonna throw my lid on as well. I'm gonna let that sit for a few minutes. All right, so the grill is looking good. I'm gonna apply my meat. One of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the meat along more the outside edge, not directly over the coals, because these are pretty thick cuts of meat, and I don't want too much heat from the coals to cause it to cook unevenly. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I'm just gonna apply it around the outsides. I'm going to cover this back up. I'm going to set a timer for about 10 minutes, and then I'll come out and check it in 10 minutes. All right, so rules of engagement. We had basically 3 rules of engagement if we saw something that was out of the norm. First rule of engagement was we had this big, strong flashlight. What you were to do is you were to turn on the flashlight, shine it at the people or persons in question, just to see how they reacted to the light, let them know that they were spotted, and that their activity was going to be monitored. So our second, if that didn't get you the desired effect, is we had something called pen flares. Basically what a pen flare is it's a thing, it's about yay big, about 6 inches long for the base, and then a flare, like you'd shoot up into the sky, screws onto the top of it. You pull a trigger back, you push a button, it releases. It shoots up, hits the primer, the flare shoots out and into the sky and comes down. And then if the pen flare didn't get them, then the final part of the rule of engagement, if there was an inherent threat, was to engage with the gun. So it's about 3:15 in the morning, and I am just minding my own business, and I'm scanning my sector with my night vision monocle, and I see this guy. He's in traditional Afghan attire, and he is walking just across an empty field. There's nothing in this field whatsoever. So I'm just watching him, see what he's doing. There were buildings on both sides of the field, but this field was about 200 meters or 200 yards, give or take, depending if you are a European viewer or an American viewer, but 600-ish feet between buildings that were on both sides. So he's just out in the middle of this field, and he stops. And when he stops, that's when I start to kind of get a little bit concerned. And he crouches down, sort of like a catcher would crouch, and he starts messing with the dirt in front of him. Now, I don't know what he's doing for sure. He's too close to be launching rockets, because rockets usually fire a couple of kilometers. But I didn't know if he had a buried weapons cache, he's digging up some grenades that he was going to chuck over the fence at us, or what was going on. So I get my big flashlight out, right? And he's still crouched down there messing with the dirt in front of him. I get my big flashlight out, and I turn it on, and just whoosh, I light him up, and this flashlight is so bright that I could see the light from the flashlight glinting off of his eyes. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what, man, this is my first day on guard duty. I really don't want to have to kill somebody. Just move along, dude, just move along. But he just stays there seated. All right, we got to flip the meat, and then I'll finish the story. Minutes have passed, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this chicken a little bit of a flip. We're going to let it go for another 10 minutes after that, and then we're going to check it out. One of the reasons also that I like to not cook on the charcoal directly is that it doesn't burn this way, or it doesn't burn as quickly. It's starting to look pretty amazing, if you ask me. All right, so we're going to let that sit for another 10 minutes covered, and come check it after that. All right, so yeah, I've got the flashlight just shining on this dude, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. He can't see me looking at him because my guard tower is pretty much dark. But he's not moving. He's not reacting to this flashlight. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh dang, here we go. Gonna have to take this to the second step of my rules of engagement. So the second step was the pen flare. Now again, I hadn't really been given any formal training, and this was not what I normally did for a living. So I screwed the pen flare onto the launcher, and I pull back the charging handle, and then I realized, I don't know, do I shoot this pen flare at this guy, or do I just like straight out at him, or do I shoot it up in the air? And so I'm running through my thoughts in my head, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, because I was inadequately trained for this situation. And I realized, okay, you know what? Shooting the pen flare in the sky, what that's to do is there were about 7 guard towers that were around the post, and it's to notify the other guards, because we had what are called intersecting fields of fire. So an intersecting field of fire just basically means portions of my zone were overlapped, like the other guard towers could see into portions of my zone, and I could see into the portion of other guard tower zones. So I realized, okay, if I'm going to shoot this pen flare off, it's got to be up in the air to notify the other guys. Additionally, I had what was called RPG cage, or rocket propelled grenade cage, and in front of me. And the point of that was that if a rocket propelled grenade were to be shot at us at the guard tower, it would impact this cage and not make it into the guard tower itself where it could kill us. There would still be dangers of fragmentation and stuff like that, but if one of those grenades hits inside of the tower, you're dead. So this was to try to help prevent that. Like, there's a possibility I could shoot this pen flare at this guy, hit the cage, and it's just going to rattle around on the ground, and it's just going to be a mess. So I make the determination in my head, if I'm going to shoot this thing, and I'm getting to that point of being ready to shoot this thing up in the air to escalate this, that it's going to have to be up into the sky to let the other guard towers know what's going on. All right, so these are looking really, really good. Another 10 minutes has passed. I'm going to flip them one more time. Then I'm going to go swap some laundry. We'll come and check them in about another 10 minutes. We'll cut into the thickest one, because if the thickest one is cooked, then they should all be cooked. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so I've got my pen flare ready to fire up into the sky to let the guard towers know that if this guy doesn't move, there's about to be an engagement that's happening. Again, I'm thinking to myself, man, I really don't want to kill somebody on my first day up here. And I'm sure that the guy's sitting there thinking to himself, man, I really don't want to be killed. And then something dawned on me, right? So the city that I was in, it was not an economically developed area. And so what had happened was this guy didn't have indoor plumbing. Nature called, and he wanted to drop that deuce as far away from his house as he possibly could. And while he's trying to go empty his bowels in peace, he's got this a-hole American who's just shining a big flashlight on him, lighting him up. And this guy's probably thinking to himself, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm just trying to poop. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill you. Please move on. But when I realized what the situation was, I unscrewed my pen flare. I turned off the flashlight and I let him finish his business in peace. But let's get back to the food. A little bit of rain. These have been cooking for about 30 minutes, so I certainly hope they are done. We'll take a look. We'll cut into the thickest piece, see if it's cooked all the way through. Hopefully it is. Then I'm going to pull these off the grill. Oh, they look and they smell absolutely gorgeous. Let's grab a knife and give a cut. Oh yeah, I can tell by the way that knife is moving that these are ready. I don't know if you guys, how well you can see that, but they are cooked all the way through. They are glorious. Let's pull these off the grill. All right, back inside. I'll cut through one of these pieces completely so we can see it. I don't know how I'm going to do that with tongs in my hand. But yes, this is cooked absolutely beautifully. Only last thing to do is to taste it. Survey says amazing. One important thing that I want you to remember is that the cooking time, you're going to have to keep an eye on it. It's going to vary based off of the heat of your grill. It's going to vary based off of the thickness of your cut of meat. And it's also going to vary a little bit. I mean, there are a lot of things. The humidity outside can play an effect on it. So when you're cooking it, just flip off and keep an eye on it, cut into it to see how it's doing, and enjoy. All right, so there you have it, guys. How to grill chicken on a barbecue grill, and the story of the time that I almost had to kill a guy. I hope this video has helped you. If you've enjoyed this video, if it's helped you in any way, please consider leaving us a like. Let us know down below what kind of videos you'd like to see us make. Subscribing to our channel helps our channel grow, and ringing the bell will give you notifications when we upload new content. As always, be well, be blessed, be loved, and have the best day ever.